Hello, this is Knud from IoT Analytics. I just came back from the IoT Solutions World Congress in Barcelona, where obviously it was sunny. Back in Hamburg, it is dark. Well, not dark, but at least gray. And I wanted to share with you in a quick video my takeaways and the feedback I had from the show. To start off, I think it was a really good show. IoT Solutions World Congress this year was probably same size as last year. So in terms of numbers, we're kind of seeing a stagnation in conferences, but we're seeing that across the board. IoT conferences have sort of are beyond the hype, and now the people that are left are the real people. And I could really see that in Barcelona. There was guys from all across the tech stack. You had some cloud guys like Microsoft and Google. You had some system integrators like Wipro. You had a lot of connectivity guys there, like Vodafone, a few other guys. You had a few startups there, a few innovations, and it was really a good mix. And I had the feeling that the people who are serious about IoT, especially in Europe, were at the show, and lots of Americans, some people from Asia as well. So I have to say this was a good show. So I wanted to share with you 6 things that I took away from the conference. I want to talk about IoT connectivity. I want to talk about IoT platforms and software. I want to talk about AI analytics, blockchain, and then trends that I saw and other cool things that I came across. Starting with IoT connectivity. So we obviously recently looked a lot into the new connectivity type of low power wide area networks. And there you can see a trend that a lot of companies are adopting LoRa and LoRaWAN. So I had a chat, for example, with a company called Libilium that is doing a lot of stuff in the smart cities, smart parking, and a few other things. Very innovative company. They were telling me that the request from their customer side for things that are running through LoRaWAN is a multiple of that of other technologies such as Sigfox, which just shows that the market pull for the LoRa technology is really quite there. I also talked to some guys from a company called ThinkStream. I personally was very impressed. It's an alternative low power technology, alternative to LoRa, alternative NB-IoT. So they have a very specific technology, and they, for example, had a customer of theirs there that shared his stories in the farming space. So this is like about precision agriculture and smart farming, and specifically irrigation. And they were sharing how they first used Sigfox, but they kind of didn't use it anymore because they needed something which was a two-way communication. Then they switched to a technology called Ingenu, but they had problems with putting up the antennas because other farmers around where you wanted to put up the antennas wanted to charge for it. Essentially ended up with ThinkStream because it's a technology that relies on existing networks, but we're not talking about NB-IoT. So it's a very interesting technology. I would say if you're interested in that space, check it out. But quite young, motivated team. Young, I mean, I don't mean young in terms of young people, but I mean young in terms of it's a rather new company. Regarding NB-IoT, because I think that's a big question a lot of the connectivity industry has right now, what's the uptake? Obviously, rollout of that technology has been slower than anticipated. Some of the operators are behind schedule, but we talked to somebody there who's certifying the NB-IoT devices, and they were saying that they're getting a lot of people certifying NB-IoT, and they're basically saying they have record numbers. They didn't want to share the numbers, but obviously we are apparently seeing right now that the adoption of NB-IoT is up, which is, by the way, what we are also predicting in our low power wide area networks report, that NB-IoT is going to be the dominant low power technology in the coming years. Switching from LP1 or connectivity to platforms. Actually, this was one of the conferences where there were not that many platforms, so quite happy because there are so many of them, and it seems like it's sort of the real platforms are staying, and some of them can't be at every conference. But I talked to EdgeX, which is it's a kind of an edge platform. So edge is a big topic, and you could read about edge all around the conference. But EdgeX is a consortium of many companies. Last time I checked, it was 60. This time there are about 80, and they have a lot of them. So they have a platform which can be deployed at the edge, so not in the cloud, but closer to where the stuff is happening. And the interesting thing is they just did a new release, and they really scaled their platform down from something that was around 2.5 gigabytes to something which is 120 megabytes, which is extremely important because at the edge you don't have a lot of space for all of this. And so essentially they replaced a lot of Java code with C code. They work with microservices, what is the kind of the state-of-the-art architecture right now. It's a very interesting consortium of companies, and they say they have some new big companies joining them right now because they realize the importance of open innovation and open forum and together with other companies. Also talked to one of the market leaders in this space, PTC, that we've talked to a few times before. And they were reiterating their traction they have with augmented reality and IoT. I personally think that's a bit surprising because my analysis that we've done here show that AR adoption is not really that is not really taking off. But it seems perhaps they have a very unique go-to-market and offering. So for them, it apparently works. I really pressed them. I'm like, is it really happening, and are companies really implementing it? But yes, they are. The other thing that I thought was interesting from a PTC point of view, they said one of the things that they're doing is they're going away from proof of concept, or this proof of technology concept, to something more which is proof of value, they call it. So they essentially are hiring a bunch of people right now who enable not the technology discussion with the customer, but rather the business discussion. So they basically say, well, our technology is working very well. It's much more about helping our customers, enabling that, making money out of this technology. And so they were sharing how they're helping a company have more service and increase the share of service of their overall business, and how IoT can help that. And that's the kind of things that they want to help their customers do. I think, again, that's a good sign of how IoT is maturing right now. So platform, we talked connectivity platform. I want to talk about AI and analytics. Overall, there was not that much about AI and analytics at the show. But the two things I want to highlight is, first of all, I talked to a company called Uptake, a very highly funded startup from the US. They were there. I think they're serious about everything that's predictive maintenance in the industrial space. They showed me some how they have done predictive maintenance on rails and locomotives. And the interesting thing is they recently acquired a database of failures, and this was public, and we discussed internally what are they doing with it. And it's not what we at least thought, which is it's not sensor data that shows historic sensor values that you're integrating into any forecast models. It's actually that they are using this to inform the data scientists into different failure modes. So it's more about, if you have a specific asset, let's say a motor in a locomotive, there are a few things that usually lead to failure, and to have the data scientist that's building the model for predictive maintenance on this know what are the typical failure modes is extremely helpful in making that model work, run, and smooth. And so that's they have a few other reasons why they have that, but I thought it was very interesting to hear that. So this is analytics, somewhat AI. The other pure AI thing, which I think is interesting, the use case is machine vision or quality detection, often in manufacturing environments. And I talked to a company called Basler, which is actually here in Germany, not far away from where we are. And they are a leader in machine vision cameras, but they are more and more teaming up with companies like Amazon to enable anomaly detection of what the camera actually sees, so that you have an automated, very smart way of saying, hey, we're in a production line. The camera spotted something which shouldn't be there. It's a quality fault, and to really make that better and to automate that. I think it's a great use case for Industry 4.0 and for AI, and I wanted to mention that. The fourth topic that I wanted to talk about is blockchain. If you are following me or following the videos we've done for a while, then you realize I always try to find the real stuff in blockchain. Didn't really find the real stuff, but at least on the IoT platform side, I found a couple of companies that said they are looking into integrating blockchain technology into the IoT platform. And the two things they're looking at integrating it for is for when you have a lot of users accessing an IoT solution, for authenticating that user and making sure that really the right people have access to the right data. That's one. And the other one is for the data exchange. So I talked to one of the companies I talked to, they do believe that there's going to be some kind of a data selling at some point, and I think then at the end you need some kind of a trusted ledger that allows you to make sure that you are selling the right data to the right people and not other people. So that is on the blockchain side. A couple of additional trends that I've kind of picked up from the conference. There was a lot of talk about multi-cloud. So a lot of customers are kind of feeling a little bit fearful that they are going to get locked into one of these big cloud vendors like Amazon or Microsoft. And so the question is really, how can you have several clouds at once, or at least the ability to move from one to another? And so that seems to be an upcoming theme, that there are some solutions out there, but that I feel is something we're going to talk about more as this is coming up. The second thing is that of a marketplace. We've discussed before that some companies have a marketplace in which they, specifically IoT platforms, in which they have applications that you can download on your platform and immediately use, like some kind of a manufacturing dashboard or something like that. So ABB, the big industrial company from Switzerland, launched their own software marketplace, for now just for their own software, but in the future probably also for other software. And so that was launched at the show. I also I said that before, to Libilium. They also have a marketplace, not for software, but for sensor kits and solutions. And they say they have a very good, a lot of people interested in their specifically smart city solutions like parking. And so this notion of a marketplace is really, from both angles, is maturing. I mean, we talked about companies like Siemens that have a MindSphere marketplace. So there's more and more going into this direction. Last but not least, I want to talk about a couple of cool things I saw at the show. Well, the biggest device that was brought to the show was a fire truck, a real big fire truck from Vodafone. I don't think the technology that they use is super innovative, but they were showing how the fire truck is basically equipped with sensors, so you can see which equipment is used and when. You're logging everything, and it makes it just easier for people to see, is all the equipment there, is everything in the right state, and afterwards, when was it used and how much. I thought that was interesting. Another one was a smart shoe inlay from a shoe company called Echo from, I think they're Dutch, the Danish, and together with Dassault Systems, they designed a prototype where people actually wear a sensorized shoe that tells them how well they're walking or running, and then based on that, an inlay is 3D printed for that specific person, and supposedly that will make whatever they're doing, wherever they're walking and running, will make that smoother. I thought it was kind of cool, but they haven't rolled it out yet. This was sort of in the testbed area. The last thing that I thought was cool, I left it to the last thing because I think this is something you should check out and see if it works for you. The Industrial Internet Consortium just published also at the show I don't know actually how you call it, but some kind of a tool that allows anyone doing an IoT solution to click through a very detailed survey, and at the end of the survey automatically get a functional requirements document for their solution. So basically automating the very complex process of what do I actually need for my solution, what are my requirements. This is something that I think a lot of people have struggled with, so I cannot talk about how good this tool is, but I think it's worth checking out. I think the IIC is doing a lot of cool things, and so I believe you can get it at hub.iiotconsortium.org. If not, send me a message and I will put this under my LinkedIn post or somewhere else. So yeah, that's it. I hope you enjoyed the summary. As you know, we just published a report on low-powered area networks. to keep you updated. The next things that we're going to look at is blockchain, also one of the reasons I always bring it up. And we have a feature on Industry 4.0, and probably soon after coming up on edge computing. So stay tuned and see you soon.